there any questions, board? Yes.
I have a question. Just in reference to SPRAB's comment number 5, where they say because the building is historic, then the new building has to use exactly the same materials as the existing building. So they specified brick because it's a brick building, and then even said maybe you should paint the brick, which is, I don't think, ever a good idea. But the thing I wanted to point out is that the Secretary of the Interior standards specifically does not say that when you're replacing an existing historic structure, you should make a fake historic structure. And I just wanted internally everyone to know that I think it was sort of out of line for SPRAB to request this, given that that's not really the field of their expertise. And that said, I think clapboard or brick, I mean, I just think that your possibilities for using other materials shouldn't be restricted because of SPRAB's comment.
So I think we're open to either or, but we've heard from 2 different subcommittees asking, so we're either or.
Okay, Ms. Carmelo?
Well, 2 things. Does that mean that you feel that brick is not appropriate, or do you feel like that's not painted is?
Well, personally, I feel that a new structure really is not going to resemble the existing structure. So I don't really see an issue, but
you don't see anything wrong with brick. I'm just
I'm just saying that if you're trying to match something, that it's okay.
You can't talk from
I think you have to use the microphone.
Okay, so I just had another, and I wanted to say thank you for all the effort you made to try to to look at the options. I really appreciate that, and it's a shame that it couldn't happen. The one question I had was about the bike parking. A couple times you mentioned that you were having bike parking, but is it covered parking? Bike parking?
I guess I would have to run that by Derek. I'm not sure if covered is
FAR.
FAR. It is, so
Yes, it would be considered FAR.
I think we have some room in the ordinance because we're a little less than what's there. I think
If you have room,
I think if we fit it within the room that we have, we will have covered bicycle parking.
Okay.
Mr. Kern?
While we're talking about FAR, there was this other recommendation from SPRAB that some of the low slope roofs be considered as balconies, which I think is a nice idea, but you've only got a limited balcony exemption under FAR, so that might also put you into a variance condition.
They're not covered porches, so if it's not a roofed area, it's not FAR.
Okay. All right. I did have just a couple of other comments. In terms of the recycling, the demolition debris, I think that that's a pretty important comment since you're taking down a whole building there, and a lot of it should be recyclable. It's really just a question of getting dumpsters from the right hauling agency where they will take the debris and repurpose it rather than putting it in a landfill. So I just wanted to be clear on that because your reflection on the comment didn't seem to fully understand the implications there.
I guess there's some concern. The reports say that it's rotted, the bricks are falling apart. It's the recyclability, the usability of some of those materials.
The intent is not to, take the wood and use it in a new structure. It's just to compost it, or that's considered recycling as well. It's just to make sure it's diverting from landfill.
We would look into that opportunity, given the nature of the age of the materials. If it's feasible, we would like to look into that.
Yeah, I think that's. I had one other comment, which is that the existing building, according to the plans, has a fire escape. I believe that when you have third floor residential, you need a second means of egress, and the plans don't seem to show that currently. I understand from Lee that the fire official did not review these plans, but it's something you should determine quickly and get the plans, I think you're gonna need to modify the plans. I'm not even sure if fire escape is allowed for new construction either, so it might need to be an internal second means of egress.
Right.
Yes, Mr. Quinn?
How are deliveries expected to be handled to the retail piece here with no parking and a narrow street? Has any thought been given to what's going in there? Obviously, we know it's not going to be a food establishment, but what the deliveries will look like going in and out?
We don't have a tenant lined up yet, or the use that the tenant would need, but in my experience with the building, down Charlton, there's usually some parking there, and for some reason or another, across the street from the building, on the same side as the church, there's almost always parking there too. It's odd because Princeton's always so busy, but I'm always able to pull up a spot. But I think we're going to find a tenant that's not going to have those really type of heavy needs. So.
Okay. Yes, anyone else? Yes, Dave?
Well, I guess I'd just like to re-raise the question that I raised for Lee at the beginning about parking for those apartments. I took a look at the ordinance, that's section 17A 403, about reconstructing an existing building. I'm not sure if there's a definition of reconstruction in the ordinance, but clearly this plan has changed. It's not a strict reconstruction. And if the parking demand is different, and I'm not suggesting you should be providing it on site, but I'd like you to reflect a little bit what you imagine for those tenants of those apartments for their parking needs.
So the choice is to go back to single occupancy rooms with knife fights and bed bugs, or to have three handsome apartments. They're so close to the university, they're so close to transit, to all of the walkable opportunities, that he's taking a business risk, frankly, not to provide parking. And I'll say that about a year and a half ago, we presented a plan that had parking. And we're told that the building really needed to conform inch by inch to the geometry of the existing building and not exceed it so as to allow for parking under the building. So we withdrew that and presented a clapboard building of the same size and scale of the one that's there. So we've tried every which way, but the owner's intention and expectation is that people will be excited about these apartments with the bicycles.
Well, I believe the primary demand will come from university professors and faculty, and especially recently, there's a lot of demand for it to be right on that side and downtown, and so the idea is for university people to be using that space, and from talking to them, it sounds like they don't drive or they don't want to drive, and that walking or bicycle would be okay.
Yes. Mayor Lampert?
Yeah, I applaud you for that. I would just encourage you to be really clear to whoever is going to be moving in there that that's the expectation, because we've had a lot of heartache. I know Ms. Kremler can confirm, is people move into a place and then demand that we change ordinances or produce parking for them when that was never intended. And so I think it just needs to be a clear communication. If this is supposed to be car-free living, then I think I would go with that as part of the marketing, so it's clear to who's ever there that we're not going to have a problem down the road.
Yeah, I want to second that, or that they can find their own parking and pay for it, but it's not part of the rent.
But that might not even be available because there's a waiting list for a lot of the garages. so
Those
you just don't want-
opportunities exist on private property on the tree streets. There are a number of properties which rent on an annual basis for parking. So if somebody truly wanted to, university folks can usually find a space in the lots down the hill. But they'll find a place if they truly want to have a car.
Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah, I have one.
Yes, Mr. Porter.
Yeah, could we go back to the materials? I guess there was a request for a materials board, which we don't need, but could we be clear as to what the materials that are intended and the extent to which the two boards, how we should reconcile those two recommendations? Or is this something that that should be left to be worked out with historic preservation?
The Board of Jurisdiction is SPRAB. I respectfully, I think we agree on that. And we preferred clapboard. We presented a drawing with a clapboard building. SPRAB is advisory to you all. And our preference was for clapboard, but we acquiesced to accommodate SPRAB, acquiesced to work with HPC, just acquiescent.
Yeah, I just want to comment that I know several of those architects on SPRAB, and I don't think that they were trying to, create an ersatz historic building. I think that this was just their sort of design review recommendation for a structure of this scale and this location, and I'm glad the applicant's agreeable to it.
Brick?
Brick.
And what are the other materials you item?
For the exterior, all the fascia board, so what the windows are wrapped in, corners, the corners of the building, they're going to be AZEK.
How do you spell that?
AZEK, I think, AZEK. The purpose is it's maintenance-free. It's the best quality product you can put. It doesn't rot. And the point is for the building to be there for a long time. So, and we use a Timberline GIF shingle.
About the balance of the siding? Is it clapboard? Is it
Hardy? But I think we...
I'm sorry, are these shown on the revised plans, these materials?
Yeah, the elevation drawings that I showed you were intended for hardy plank siding. Then SPRAB recommended brick, so brick.
And I just wanted to point out, and I think Elric agrees with me, that, if you use brick, it's still not going to exactly resemble the existing building. I just wanted to point out that I felt that was kind of restrictive. I understand the spirit of it.
Yes.
We've been quiescent. If the planning board, taking the recommendations from the several groups that report to you, if you want, as a group, you want brick, we'll have brick. We had clapboard. We really just need to move forward.
Yes, Mr. Solo?
I think Derek and I were talking, the Nassau Street facade will be brick. That's what I heard you say, I think, with the trim and AZAC, right?
Right.
The other sides of the building, there are three other sides. Are they brick? Are they hardy plank? Are they something else?
I think the intention was to have Nassau Street and Charlton Street in brick, and the other two in hardy plank siding.
I'm fine. I just want to be clear so that when we write it correctly if the board agrees.
As far as streetscape goes, where you see the building, because it's on the corner, off Nassau of Charlton in brick, and in the rear and the left side in hardy plank siding. And I think Mr. Cohen depicted accurately that I think SPRAB wasn't trying to replicate the old building. I think they just thought it would look nicer. So.
Okay. If we're clear on the materials now, I'd really like to